Aloha.
Well, hey, Cynthia. Good to see you here. What's holding you back today? That's
What
our
is holding
topic
me
for Cooler Talk.
back? Well, actually, I have to say, this is a really timely topic. I have a friend who's working on getting certified as a personal and professional coach. So it's a life coach
Oh,
certification that he's going after. And I've known him a long time, but actually haven't been in touch with him for nearly as long. And and so he reached out to his LinkedIn network, about a month ago, saying that in order to sort of finalize his certification program, he needs to present a few videos of live coaching sessions. So basically, I got free coaching because this
oh,
person needed
excellent.
to fulfill this. And so I had one coaching session with him, and it was wonderful. I don't usually have friends, give me therapy or do my coaching or anything. I usually keep those worlds apart. But because I
Yeah,
hadn't been in touch with him for so long, I figured, what's the risk? What the hell?
good for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
you didn't let any fears or preconceived notions hold you back.
hold me back. Right. So that was a good notice. And so I had my coaching session yesterday. It was recorded, and and I realized I didn't actually know what I was going to go into that session with. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any ideas. I wanted to kind of allow the session to reveal to me if I'm having any blocks. And I realized that I am having a serious block on one topic, which is finalizing a book that I have started writing at the beginning of this year.
Hmm.
It's a nonfiction work, and I've sort of reached that, what you would call the murky middle of that book,
Yes.
which is where things kind of escalate and all of the problems are laid bare. Well, I don't seem to want to lay bare one particular problem, which I will share with you, because I have to write about it, because it's the only thing that's going to keep the story moving. And it is the topic of my hair.
Oh,
So my hair is what's holding me back. It is the topic that I know I have to write about, but every time I sit down to write on this topic, I have writer's block to the max. I can write about anything else, but as soon as it gets to my hair, I'm not ready.
oh,
It sounds trivial, but I learned yesterday that there's a lot of emotional memory,
hmm,
a lot of value memory that I have
yeah.
associated with my hair. My hair seems to symbolize a lot about my complete identity. And it touches on sort of like all aspects of my life, professionally, personally, in my childhood, in my
Hmm.
relationships, even on some level, money.
Hmm.
Getting product for this is not cheap.
No.
So there's like a lot of stuff that's associated with this, with my
Yes.
hair. And I realized that, like, until I can kind of untangle my hair from all of those other aspects of my life,
No pun intended.
no pun definitely intended. But until I can untangle all of that, I can't really sort of see clearly through, the financial aspect of my life,
Mhm.
break through the glass ceiling in my professional life, really approach my relationships freely and unbound or unconstricted. as unconstricted as my hair is telling me it wants to be.
Yeah,
So that was a really eye-opening
mm,
experience.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty, yeah, impressed. Digging deeper,
Digging deeper.
getting down
Yeah.
into some of those preconceived beliefs, limiting beliefs.
Yeah. And how much, for me in this case, it's my hair, and I think my hair is very it's strongly associated with my appearance and therefore my identity.
Well,
And
it is part of your appearance.
I mean, it's a
It
strong
is
part.
what
I
it
mean,
is.
people will say, like, oh, I saw you from miles away. Like, nobody else has that kind of thing. So like it's clear that it is a signature that stands out. With somebody else, it can be their red hair, it can be their height.
It's my
Um,
white hair.
it can be your white hair, it can be your
Mhm.
walk, it can be, your shape. And I just realized that because I have not sort of associated or recognized that those linkages that I made between my hair and all of these other aspects of my life that I didn't even realize were entangled in that, um, I've been that's what's been holding me back, not being able to see that. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to write about it, because I've been thinking that talking about my hair seems very trivial, but actually it's the identity that I have associated in that's not trivial. The same way a
And,
tall person or a small person might say, like, yeah, I've got a lot of topics.
well, let me ask you a question. Who
Uh-huh.
created that identity?
Yeah, of course I did. Of
Mhm.
course. With every day that I, live, with every conversation I have, with every interaction, you know, and um and I think it's important to be able to, and I think that's one of the nice things about coaching. It's having the opportunity to look at yourself from a different perspective.
Well, I
Um,
would like to see you look at yourself in all of your magnificence.
well, thank you. That was actually one of the topics that came up yesterday. Yeah,
I bet it did.
yeah,
You are
absolutely,
magnificent.
absolutely. I
How's your
mean,
hair?
it was shocking to me to realize um, that I even associate, or the way I interact with money is also partly connected to my hair.
Wow.
Back in the day when I used to get my hair straightened, it was at least $200 a pop. That was on the low end. It was definitely a time investment, twice a week, three times a week, just shampooing, conditioning, straightening, hot rolling, the whole 9 yards.
I remember
um,
those days.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just very interesting to see how those associations are made, and how sometimes, even if it's looking at us in the mirror every morning, we can't see what's holding us back.
I learned something recently that you can actually look in the mirror and look at yourself in the eye and ask yourself that question.
Mhm.
Apparently, you can't lie to yourself.
Huh.
Very hard to lie to yourself when you're looking at yourself.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. That sounds like he's going to have a nice coaching career because you do need to get down underneath the skin, get to what's going on inside the things that we've absorbed over the years. Whether it doesn't the brain doesn't know if it's true or false.
Yep.
The brain just records it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not to mention, there are a lot of times where we look at ourselves in the mirror, or we think we're, asking ourselves those probing questions when we're really not. It's more
I
of like
understand that.
superficial looking at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are the things that hold us back?
What
Our
are the things?
thinking, our perceptions, our viewpoint about ourself, self acceptance,
Old
and
construct.
yeah, and another that was an excellent session you had yesterday. Um, and what holds you back? Fears usually under there somewhere.
Oh,
Fear of
absolutely.
Could be fear of success, fear of failure, but something to look at is if one has achieved success and then sabotaged themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the fear of success is that I don't really want all the attention that
Mm-hmm.
goes along with it.
Uh-huh.
See, I learned this about myself, and it's like, but you can be successful without having all of that attention on you.
Attention. That's
It's
right.
possible, it can be done, um, and,
It's
yeah,
in our lives, we are relating beings. We understand the world in the way that we relate with things. And I know one of my earliest memories that I have about my hair actually started when I was either in kindergarten or maybe younger. And I just remember hearing one of the boys in the class, because we were sitting in these types of rows on these shared desks, like the old fashioned kind where there was two to a desk. And there was like a boy in the back, and he said something like, well, I can't see behind her big hair. And I remember being mortified, embarrassed,
yeah,
as I was the only person who had like non-straight up and down hair, more horizontally oriented hair.
and at that age, do you think it was personal? He was just stating a fact.
And maybe he was teasing me, maybe he wasn't. The point is, I made a connection that I
Yeah.
had to hold my hair down. I had to pin that down, and
Well,
I
sure, of
from that,
course.
yeah,
Yes,
from
that
that.
would be a natural response.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have to say, some kids are a lot more precocious, and they're like, "Hey, if you can't sit in the front row." Like there's no.
Right.
Whereas my personality was such that I went home and I was like, "Mommy, help me fix this." And so she put my hair in braids, and for many years I wore my hair in braids. I wore it in
Yeah.
a tight ponytail. I did everything that I could to be considerate for anybody who might be behind me, but I can imagine a tall person probably hears that all the time. I can't see
Yes.
behind your
Or
tall back.
long-waisted people are taller when they sit.
Sit,
This is
right?
why I don't like going to the theaters unless they have the chairs properly positioned.
Right,
You don't want them straight behind each other, you want them staggered.
right.
So, like, you have 2 chairs here, but then the one behind you is gonna be in the middle here.
Yeah.
And I always seem to get behind the tall person that's tall when they're sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped going to the movies and things because of that. In fact, stopped going to a lot of events because it just happened to me so often.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, it's just not worth it. If I'm going to pay to come to this show, I'd like to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now that tall person starts to think about how he engages with the world and maybe has
Yeah.
to accommodate how he engages with the world. And so maybe what he'll do is he'll make himself smaller, but then he's wondering why, as an adult, he can't seem to get sort of past a certain position.
Right. Well, I
Where,
wouldn't say that to him. I mean, if I'm in a position where I can move, I'll move,
well,
you know?
and if you've got 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, you know that they're going to be just blurt out like the
Well,
first thing that they're going to
they just say what is on their mind.
they'll just
But I
come
know
right out and say it.
I'm sure it wasn't personal at all. It was just like, you're in my way.
Right. It's kids being kids. And I don't think that there was any ill intent, and that
No.
really doesn't matter. The point
Right.
is I had moved through my life
Yeah.
accommodating that
Wow.
need within myself to please somebody else, to
Wow.
please other
Yeah.
people. And
Boy, what
that
a
is
message.
what's holding me back, right? That I
Right.
have to do these things, change my appearance in such a way so that somebody else can be comfortable, so somebody else can feel safe or can
Well,
see.
guess what? You don't have to do that anymore.
No, no, I don't. And I haven't had to do it. I haven't had to do it for many years. And
Mhm.
um, it's not about the hair per se, but it is about the not having acknowledged that linkage that I had created in my mind. And
Mhm.
so that the
Yes.
old belief was still there that I need to do things to make other people happy in order
Right.
to,
I totally understand that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that poor little kid he had no clue that by opening his mouth like that, it was going to affect somebody else's entire lifetime.
and to be honest, I don't even know which kid it was. Like, I can't remember who it
Right.
was, and it doesn't matter.
No.
But I think the moral of the story is that we've all got something
Mhm.
that's trivial, on the face of it, but that is deep in the sense that it
Oh,
is
yeah.
holding you back,
Yeah.
and you can let it go.
And that stuff is so conditioned in us unless we have someone trustworthy to talk with to help
Yeah,
us get beyond that, we're not going to realize
yeah,
what's really going on, you
yeah.
know.
And
I'm impressed with how he dug right in like that, and oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it helped.
We might have to have him on Cooler Talk one day.
Oh, maybe I'll have him come on
Check
Cooler
with
Talk.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he
See?
actually it helps that I had a relationship with him, so the trust was there. I didn't have to
Yes.
do any, do we have the right, like, chemistry? Do we have the right
Right.
vibe together? Sort of introductory conversation with him. But yeah, he really like zing, bing. I mean,
Yeah,
and I was like, I didn't
because
expect us to go here.
a lot of people are out there coaching and they cause more harm than good.
Yeah.
They really do. And then here's somebody that's just thrown away all this money on someone who really isn't expertise enough.
You should start getting results on your second session.
Wow.
If you don't feel like, and this is just somebody who's
I would agree.
worked with coaches, worked with therapists. The first session is always kind of a getting to know you,
Right.
so you won't be getting results, but
Right.
you'll know by the second session if you're going in the right direction, or if you're
Mhm.
kind of like, I don't really know if I'm getting value. You should know if you're getting value or not by the second session. And if you're not, and if you don't know on the second session, that's probably an indication you're not getting value. Like, you should
Good to
not
know.
keep going back to the same therapist for 6
Right.
months or whatever.
Right. Well,
Some
no, I totally understand that because I've seen that situation a couple times.
Yeah.
It's just like you're not helping me solve anything.
Yeah.
So goodbye.
Yeah, that's really how it should go. You know, it's interesting because a lot of therapists or coaches will say, you know, well, this is going to be a long journey or what have you. And it's true, therapy is a long journey, but the one being therapized, I don't know what the verb would be, but the one, you know, doing the work should know by the second session
Yeah,
whether we're getting close to the issues that are really, you know, emotionally triggering or, you know,
right.
meaningful to me, or whether we seem to be like digging into, you know, stories about my mama and, you know, my ancestors long gone that,
Or not talking at all.
yeah,
Just listening and doing nothing.
yeah.
No, that that's a waste of time and money.
And money, and
Yeah.
money. I mean, if you're going to do that, because it is work, then, you know, you have to be willing and ready to invest in yourself for that.
Yes. Yeah. So it
So,
takes a while to find a good one. And you want yes,
yeah,
agreed. So what's holding you back? How can we help our watchers with what's holding you back? Thinking can be holding you back.
yeah,
Feeling stuck can hold you back,
yeah,
meaning this is my lot in life. I have to accept it. That's it. Well, guess what? That's not true.
mhm,
Um, or comparing yourself to other people holds you back because
yeah,
you're focusing on somebody else's experience. You have to
mhm,
focus on your own experience.
mhm.
Um,
Same
and
goes for results.
right. And if you're in situations where you just don't seem to be progressing in that situation, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you.
Mhm,
It probably means more like you're not a good fit.
yeah,
And I think people have a tendency, and I've been guilty of this, of internalizing way too many things that don't belong to me,
yeah,
or hanging around people that are negative, that don't for one reason or another, don't want to see you blossom
mhm,
and
mhm,
become your magnificent
mhm,
person self.
mhm,
So we we need to learn to break off from those things, people, places, and things that are holding us back, and
yeah,
focus on ourselves. Go within our own hearts, search for what we want to get out of life, and then start thinking in terms of abundance of,
yeah,
first you want to, think of gratitude is a great way to be personal for personal abundance, because that's abundant thinking, is the being grateful for this, for that, whether it's personal, physical, or whatever your environment is. I mean, um and it may seem kind of simple. It may seem like, well, that's just too simple. Well, no, it's your mindset.
mhm. And
And
it is simple, it's not
stop.
easy.
And people gotta I
That's the
spent
work
way
though.
too many years, way too many years comparing myself to other people, and
Mhm,
that was holding me back. That was
mhm,
holding me back from being able to express myself and be the kind of person I want to be,
that's right.
not what the environment says I should be. Um, like an example, you know, and I think many people in my generation grew up with this. Well, you're gonna meet a guy, be happy, get married, and live happily ever after. And there was a lot of pressure. I never really wanted to be married, but there was a lot of pressure to, well, when are you going to get married? When are I was 38, and when are you going to get married? And somewhere in the back of my head, made me think that something was wrong because I wasn't.
Mhm.
And I ended up making a bad choice,
Mhm.
thinking there were a lot of things I thought.
That it was
But
something you were supposed to do?
it was, yeah, but it was like I thought I finally met the one,
Oh, sure.
but I do remember myself thinking, if I don't get married now, I never will.
Mhm.
I remember thinking that.
Mm.
And I mean, I had a few opportunities over the years to do so. Um, but I'm one of these people. The minute you start trying to control me, I have to walk away.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I ended up marrying my worst nightmare. It was my worst nightmare. It could have been a lot worse, but I
Sure.
got out before it got worse. Um, he just was not a nice person.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
sometimes what's holding you back is that I think you were saying this earlier, maybe I heard you wrong, is that you are not a right fit for that moment. Like,
exactly.
you might have been hearing from everybody like, when are you going to get married? You should be getting married. And you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of climbing up there in age. Soon I'll be a spinster, or maybe I already should
Already
be, and
was.
what have you. And then, but really what's holding you back is that marriage was not what you were supposed to do. So it was
Right.
almost like a signal, be it from the universe or just from like your inner verse, your inner person saying to you, like, this is not the right match. Why are you trying to, fit a square peg in a round hole? Like,
And he
what?
had a choice not to go through with it.
Sure.
You
You
know, if
both
he
did.
didn't feel he really wanted to do it, he could
Hmm.
have said no.
Hmm.
But you're the one that offered it. I thought we were compatible. But
Hmm.
for those of you who understand karma, and out of all of that and any experience I've had, the bottom line is every single person I've ever met had some kind of lesson for me.
Uh-huh.
And that was the big one. That one was huge. And I could go on for an hour about all the good things that have come out of that really bad situation.
That could
Um,
be a great topic for a future cooler talk.
well, we'll see.
The
I
good
don't
things
want to.
that
I'm not. That was in the for me. That was in the past. I don't want to relive that.
No, I'm not
Because
asking
I
you to
did.
talk about that specifically, but the good things that come out of bad situations, I think that is pretty real, and that happens to a lot of people.
I think you're right. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Because there are maybe it comes with age. Maybe it comes with s- having this undying yearning to find the truth about a
yeah,
situation,
yeah.
about life, about whatever it is you need to find out about.
Hmm.
And I was able to come to a lot of truths about myself and how vulnerable and gullible I was and naive. Although I kind of liked being naive. It was more fun, frankly, but I make better, more educated decisions now as a
Right.
result of that situation. So there's wisdom in going through those types of things. And I mean, if I could protect children from all these bad things that happen to them out there, I would. But I was told once, who am I to decide for God what his purpose is for another
Hmm.
person?
Yeah.
And I am not. That's right. Who am I to decide for them what
Hmm.
is best for them and what lessons they need to learn in life?
Agreed.
So I'm taking a little spiritual kick side note on that.
Hmm.
However, the older I get, the more experiences I have, the more I find truth in that.
Hmm.
So I've been able to do
Rhonda,
good things. Good. I've been able to do good things for other people as a result of having that experience.
looks like nothing's holding you back as of late.
No,
So,
no. I feel like it's like now. It's like
watch
no.
out,
I
world.
don't feel like anything's holding me back anymore.
Good,
Um, and uh, I was able to shed the concern about what other people think
good.
because they haven't walked their when what other people think about us is based on their own personal um
Construct. Mm-hmm.
yes, that's a great word, of their own personal construct, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all based on what their perception is of the world. It has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with you, although they'd like to make it personal. It's not, and that's the reality and the truth of the situation. And I told you, the story about. I mean, the story about the little girl who. This is years ago. It was uh, uh, I had been out of my hometown for a while. Came back, and my mom started shopping at this lady's store, and I don't even remember the lady's name, but I remember. I remember vividly being in that store, and her little girl was. I think she had some disability, maybe a mental disability, but not so bad that she couldn't perceive the world. She knew what she liked. So she had this beautiful little bling ring on that was just, I could tell she could just loved it. And her mother looked at her and said, I don't want you wearing that ring because that's not who you are.
Interesting.
And I'm there, you just screwed that poor girl out of living a happy life
Mm-hmm.
just by, and I'm sure that's not the first time that message came through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, number one, don't get me going.
Yeah, that sounds like a story for another time,
I'm
but
going to tell you, I bit my tongue and I've caught myself just looking at that woman and looking at that little girl and saying, I love your ring.
good for you. Well, watch out, world.
Right, and make sure
Nothing
the
is
mom heard
holding
it. Sorry.
Rhonda back.
What?
I said, watch out, world, because nothing is holding Rhonda back.
Oh my God. Oh,
So,
these are all truths.
yeah, you'll be seeing us here next week. We don't know what your topic is going to be next week, but at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Rhonda's going to come out with some more truths.
We'll see. We'll see. Oh, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. And stay tuned for next week's topic. If
Yeah,
you have
let
any
go of what's holding
suggestions,
you back.
yeah, please send them to us. Have a wonderful day.
Ciao for now.